O Great Spirit, saints and sages of all times, of all places, O ye path makers of old, Namaste. Sweep clear the path. Sweep clear the path that we might better serve Thee. Sweep clear the path that we might better serve ourselves, serve life that we are a part of, with ever greater wisdom, with ever greater compassion, with ever greater nonviolence. O ye powers that be, in all of thy names and all of thy forms, Namaste. Ancestors of all of our lineages, Namaste. O ye powers that be of the air, the earth, the fire, the water, the ether, Namaste. Om Saha Navavatu Sahanao Bunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvi Navadidam Astu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti. May there be peace between us. May there be clear understanding between us. May the Anandic bliss flow between us. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Namaste and welcome. Welcome to my heart and welcome to our Sunday meditation. There once was a man. There once was a man who had a father. There once was a man who respected and loved his father. There once was a man who had a father who was a very, very successful businessman. There once was a man who was a very successful businessman, who had a father who was a very successful businessman. There once was a man who had a neighbor, who had a neighbor who had a father, who had a father who was a very successful businessman. There once was a man who was a very successful businessman, who had a father who was a successful businessman, who had a neighbor who was a very successful businessman, who had a father who was a very successful businessman. There once was a man who had a son. There once was a man who had a neighbor who had a son. And so on, and so on, and so on. Until there were 108 men in the village. All 108 men had a father. All 108 men were successful businessmen. All 108 men had fathers who were successful businessmen. And all 108 men had a son. Papa, successful businessman. Man is successful businessman. Everything that the man knew about being a successful businessman, he learned from his father. But time goes on, and he has a son. He has a business that belonged to his father that's been passed down to him, and he has a son to take over that business. Yeah, we all know the daughter should be included. Forgive me. It's just the nature of the story. So, you won't mind for just a moment. But what did the man know? Well, he knew how Papa taught him. He knew how his father taught him. He knew everything his father did to help him to become successful. Now, every 108 men, every one of the 108 men, every one of the 108 fathers, they had a petite habit. The habit that is common to many humans. When something came up in their life that they didn't like to do, they'd resist. I don't want to do that. I'll give it to someone else to do. I'll give it to my son to do. And the first time that it happens, that the father decided he didn't want to do something, the mind said, okay, I'll give it to this person to do. I'll give it to that person to do. I'll give it to my daughter to do. I'll give it to my wife to do. Second time that it happened, the mind resisted more. Oh, no. I will give it to the wife to do. It is her job to do. And all of a sudden the man becomes very selective. The successful businessman is very selective about what he is going to do. And he's sorting it out. I don't want to do this. This my son's going to do. I don't want to do this. My wife's going to do this. I don't want to do this. My daughter's going to do this. I don't want to do this. The manservant's going to do this. Now, the 20th time he does this, the 21st time he does this, the 1000th time he does this, the mind has become locked in. Won't move. All locked in. No. He has a task to do and he says, no. His mind says, no. 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 Or if you will prefer, no. I will not do this. Now, the man who had a father who was a successful businessman, the man who was a successful businessman, all in the same business. They have become locked in their thinking. Locked. They would say they have discerned that which is the wisest to do in their lives. And they begin to try to train their sons. Some it works very well. But out of the 108, I would say only 1.5 it worked well. The rest, the sons began to fumble, to resist. Something happened. The very successful businessman had blinders on. He could only see this. He could not see that his son was born in a different time, in a different way, in a different culture. And he kept pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing I'm giving you an opportunity, my son. I'm giving you an opportunity. This business will be yours. This that I have built will be yours. It is yours. And the son, like all sons and all daughters, wanted to please Papa. Well, it went on for quite a while, and the community recognized there was a problem. The 108 men, their papa's long gone, would gather together in small groups for a cup of chai, cup of coffee, if you will, whatever they chose to drink. A good Guinness. And slowly they became aware that their sons were not living up to their expectations. The shoemaker said, I have all this business coming in. There's no more shoemakers. Hundreds of miles around, people are coming to get their shoes made. And my son flubs it up every time. I leave him in charge of the firemen, shoemakers, and he can't do it. My son seems like he really doesn't want to be a shoemaker. But I've set this business up for him. The lawyer comes next and says, I sent my son to law school. He barely passes by law school. We have a successful business. Generations of people come to us. And he's out on the street taking photographs. He comes to work late. And yes, he's got the skills, but he doesn't seem to be inspired to be a lawyer. The grocer says, look, I have this great business, all these variations, all this business with all these sub-businesses off to help the villagers. Every time I put my son in a new place, gafui, he doesn't seem to be able to concentrate. He forgets. He forgets. His head is in the clouds. So, there once was a yogi who had no sons. There once was a yogi who had no daughters. There once was a yogi who had no businesses. There once was a yogi who was very content living life as the yogi should live the life. And in the midst of all the chaos and chaos that was going on with the 108 men and their 108 sons, someone saw the yogi walking on the street. This yogi was a man, and they would never ask a yogi in a woman's body for what they were asking. Maybe it was in a man's body, maybe it was in a woman's body. Who knows? A yogi has no preference. The little yogi was walking down the street and came upon a group of the men sitting with their chai, looking very unhappy. Good morning. Good morgen. Buenos dias. Bonjour, monsieur. How are you this morning, gentlemen? Not so good. Not so good. We have tried everything. Come. Little yogi comes closer. They offer him chai. No, thank you. Just tell me what you're worried about. We have tried everything. Everything our father, everything my father did to me to help me grow, I did to my son. Every opportunity my father gave to me to help me grow, I gave to my son. he doesn't want it. And the next man said the same, and the next man said the same, and the men across the street cried over the same. I gave him every opportunity exactly the way that my father did. And he hasn't learned, and he doesn't want it. Among these very successful businessmen was a gangster. A very successful businessman. He wouldn't call himself a gangster. He was the head of a family. And he said, you know, it's strange. Very strange. And he turns to the lawyer and he says, your son has been hanging out at our home a lot. And I've been training him because he's curious and he asks questions and he's enthusiastic. And the lawyer says, you've got to be kidding me. He is so unenthusiastic when I talk to him. And by the way, sir, your son has been hanging out at my office. He comes to meet me in the morning and walks with me to the office and pesters me with questions. I was going to come and ask you, could I send him to law school? And all around, the men discovered that their sons were going to someone else to learn. That they had found, unbeknownst to Papa, they were trying hard to find their own path while still trying to please their father. And all the father could do, all that the man could do, was to try to train his son exactly the way that his father had trained him. Because he had become so locked in his mind, so locked in his beliefs, so locked in his preferences, so locked in his assurance that all that he has spent his life doing and building and growing was to be taken over by his son so that his name would live on. The cobbler said, you see my shop? It is named after my father. He started that shop. Yes, I've run it for 40 years, 20 longer than he did, but it still is in the name of my father. And little yogi said, I think you've got a problem with this generation. I think this group of your sons is going to be very wise. They are trying to free themselves. Now, what can you do to free yourself? What have you done? You have locked yourself in to this belief that the choice that your father made, the choice that you made to follow what your father said, that your sons and your daughters should all do what you want them to do. You have built these businesses in a world of impermanence. You know, the hurricane came on the island the other day and all of the buildings were wiped out and all of the businesses were gone. The cyclone came over here and all of those boats were swept away, all the houses were swept away, all the businesses were swept away. But you, my beloved, think, and you live and you are acting as if that which you have built will be here forever. As if that which you have built will be here and remain after you. Exactly the way that you built it, exactly the way that you created it. There will be no change. And the little yogi, quiet, didn't say anything, listened and listened and listened. They quit fetching long enough to say, "What do you think? What do you think we should do? What do you think?" It seems to me that you've all drawn a square. You've each drawn your own square. And in that square, you have put your opinions, you have put your biases, you have put your prejudices, and you have locked them in like cement. I think you should step out of the square and draw a circle. Separate yourself so far from everyone else. You draw a circle. You're at the center of the circle. And you should work to enlighten everyone within that circle. And when you have enlightened all of those within the circle, when you have enlightened that one soul within the circle, you will be free. But you must give your sons and your daughters and your wives and your brothers and your sisters and your friends the opportunity to draw their own circle, the opportunity to find enlightenment without the imprisonment of your expectations, without the imprisonment of your biases and prejudices. There once was a man who had a father who had a business, a very successful business. There once was a man who had that business and took it and made it more successful until he reached an age that he wanted his son to take over that business. And his son wanted to, but was not capable. What a great sadness. Perhaps not. Why did the son want to? Because he wanted to be accepted by Papa, to be respected by Papa, to be loved by Papa. He didn't really want to run the business. He didn't even like administrative things. He didn't even like organizing things. He couldn't remember to do that. He was a creator. He was a creative type. He was much better at communicating with people and making friends with people and befriending them and talking to them. He wasn't very good at taking directions, and he certainly was not good at paying attention to all the details a business needs. And so what was the father to do? What is the father to do? Never retire? And then when his body lays down and dies, all that he has built is finished. That's one option. Happens to many. That's one option. But the son would be very disappointed. The son's life, he would be very disappointed. If the father steps out of his square and into the circle, his circle, he may be able to see the others. And this is what you and I must do. To see, as the men had to see the others. To see how to communicate with the others. To see what the others needed. Why? Would the head of the family be training the lawyer's son? Why would the lawyer be training the son of the head of the family? Because this was the dharma, the karma of those sons. The shoemaker's son who did not want to be a shoemaker, but wanted to be a photographer. The photographer's son who couldn't stand photography, really wanted everything organized and wanted to be a grocer's son. And thus the yogi said to all of these souls, call your sons together, speak to them individually, tell them you respect them, you accept them, you accept them. Say to your sons, I accept you. Whatever it is that you want to do with your life, I accept it. Anything that you want to do with your life. And you who head the family, you say, you want to be a lawyer? It's all right. You can be a lawyer. You can work for me as a lawyer, or you can go work as a pro bono lawyer to help those poor people in need. And what happened? The head of the family called his son and said this to him. He said, you can work for me as a lawyer, or, my dear son, you can go and use your services and help pro bono. You can be a public defender. You can defend those people who are in need. And I will still accept you and love you. And the son cried and cried and cried and sank to his knees in front of his father and said, thank you. I did not know how to tell you my dream. I did not know how to tell you my dream. I did not want to disappoint you. And all over that happened. All over that happened. And in time, some of the men who had very successful businesses found someone to take over those businesses. But in time, some of those very successful businesses was the end. The end. The end. No more. For everything that begins must end. Everything that begins must end. There should be no sadness to it. You've had a chance for your dream to manifest. The dream that you dreamt has manifested. The dream that they dreamt has manifested. Now is the time to let the dream of the others come to manifestation. But it does not mean that your dream needs to be let go of. It means that sometimes we have to stop and say, oh, now what? What is the dream that you can dream today, standing in your circle of self-awareness? What is the dream that you can dream when you reach above your consciousness and really deeply reflect? What can I dream that will carry me forward, into that lifetime? The one that's a moment from now, a year from now, a week from now, a day from now, a lifetime from now. What is the dream that will carry me forward? And dream that dream. Remember each of these men, the 108 successful businessmen. There were none in this group that were successful businesswomen. They would have dealt with it a little differently because the nature of the female, the mind, is a little different. It can become locked in as much, but it's a little different. Remember how it began. It began with a father who had a son. But in training his son, the father decided upon the tasks to give as the tasks that he didn't particularly like. You know, the grocer didn't want to do inventory. The grocer didn't care for meeting the products at the dock and having to make sure that they got back to the warehouses. And each task that the grocer didn't like, he passed on to his son. And sometimes without proper training. But the very successful businessman learned and struggled on his own and was able to figure out what to do and assumed that because he could do it, his son would be able to also. And so when the time comes and he's teaching his son, he does the same thing. Everything Papa gave him that Papa didn't like to do and he had to do, everything he didn't want to do, he gave to his son without asking, does he want to do this? Am I training him to do it? Or am I assuming because I could figure it out that he will? We do this in all of our life, throughout all of our life. We must get out of the square. Get out of the square. Be in the circle. And stop and say, well, what's the first thing I can do to change my fixed consciousness? Well, stop and reflect. What's something you really don't like to do? It's on your list of things that need to be done. You don't really like to do it. Make a list. There may be more than one that you don't like to do. And then put them in order of the thing you like the least to do. Or that you find the most difficult to do because you don't like it very much. And then make a vow to yourself. This I will do. I'm going to try it just for a week. Maybe from the new moon to the full moon if you're really brave. And watch. Keep your journal out. Watch and observe. What happens if you wash the dishes as soon as you're finished with the meal? You wash them, they get dried and they get put away. What happens if you take the garbage out as soon as it needs to be taken out, or take the compost out as soon as the compost bucket is full? Or organize the papers on your desk. Or peel the carrots, cook fresh vegetables. You can tell the things that in my mind, I'm saying, well, they're not my favorite things to do first. Watch what happens with the mind. The mind, the first time, the mind will say, oh, I'm doing this for a spiritual purpose. It's okay, I'll do it. And it'll do it for the spiritual purpose. And then the second time, the mind will say, enough already. No. This is a spiritual. I'm doing it spiritually. This will be fine. I'm going to do it spiritually. It'll do it the second time. But usually by the third time, the mind will say, look, enough already. There's another way to do this. You've proven there's another way to do this. You don't have to do this, so don't do it. And the mind sits down. Just sits. Well, you'll see if I'm going to let you do that. If you leave it here long enough, somebody else will pick it up. I think you should just go read a book. Go have a cup of tea. And it locks in. It locks in. And so What is the answer? Well, isn't that interesting? Keeping this observer consciousness above, about 18 inches above the head, that moves part of your consciousness out of your chakra system. Do not forget that. You're taking this awareness, which then, because it's out of the chakra system, it simply observes. It observes your thoughts, it observes your actions, it observes your reactions, but it is a recording device. It is not a judgment device. It is not editing. That's down in the chakras. It's not deleting. That's down in the chakras. It is observing. It is recording. It is your higher awareness. And so going up to that again and again and again and again, that does have, that section of your consciousness does have a great humor, the ability to have humor, and acceptance. It really has acceptance. It just says, I want to see. I want to see. I want to see what is there. I'm going to see what is there. And so as these thought forms have locked into your personality, as they have locked into your life, as they have locked into your relationships with others, they become free as you turn inward, as you ascend upward, and as you are willing to take one task at a time. This one I don't want to do, but I will anyway. I want to turn the prism a little bit. The father who had a son, The father and the son dreamt their dreams. They lived their dreams. And they assumed that their son, the dream of the son, was going to be the same as theirs. And it was not. Here's the problem. It occurs for all of us. It doesn't matter if you have a son or a daughter, or you're a man in a body and a woman's body. It matters not. Your life, you are living your dream. Do not impose your dream upon another. And when the time for that dream comes to a close, sometimes it hurts the heart. Sup upon the joy from the moment that the dream came to fruition in your life. And if you wish that it were there longer, if you want it there longer, then the next time you will sustain it for a longer period. But my beloved, we must know this world that we are in is transitory. Things rise, they fall, they rise, they fall, they rise, they fall. The pain, the anguish, the disappointment, the hurt, the chaos, it comes from thinking that this will last forever, that the structure of this will last forever. You are immortal, but that which is manifest is not. It will change its form, it will change its shape. Accept that and let go of trying to have others live your dream. was talking to my guru. I frequently talk to my guru, but this was a moment in a few eye blinks back. And he said, you know, when I'm gone, the temple's going to change. And I said, no, no. And he said, oh, please, look around you. Look around at all the other organizations. The living teaching will live on, but even that will change. All is change. We must accept that. All is change, even change itself. And a few breaths ago, I was talking to a fellow disciple, and she said, I want to do this because I want it to live on beyond me, and I think that it will live on beyond me. I think I have set something up that's going to live on beyond me. And I said, I love you. But it's not. It won't. Not the way that you have created it. It may live on, but it will be different. And she was taken aback. She was really taken aback by it. And I said, you know, look at what our guru said. Look at what we have seen. It is different. Now I'm going to bring this to close. What is one way in which you can validate that what I've said today is a reality upon the earth? What is one way to do that? There are many, many ways. But one is quite special, I think. Go back in your memory. Or if not in your memory, go forward as you walk through life. And watch. Businesses are wonderful, wonderful, wonderful spiritual learning experiences. And watch a place that you really love, a business that you really love. You walk into that business and it's just everything that you like. You know, you like the people who run the business. You really enjoy what they sell there. They're very helpful to you, whether they're selling goods for your home, whether it's food that you eat, whether it is clothing that you wear. You really like it. Small business always has to be a small business. And then the ownership changes. Name stays the same. Same for storefront. Now, in time, you will be able to tell this within 24 hours. But say you wait a week, and you go in, and the new people are there. You will be able to palpably feel the difference in the energy field. You will palpably feel the vibrational difference. You will palpably, within 30 days, it will be as if the first person had disappeared, because astrally they have. It is a great lesson. You dreamt your dream, you built this, you created it, you turn it over to somebody else and you think they're going to keep it the same, and they're not you. They don't have your experiences. They don't have your view. They will not turn it. It will not continue the way you had built it. It simply doesn't. Life doesn't work like that. It is a valuable lesson. I could write books on the number of times I've seen it occur again and again and again and again. Why do I use a business? Because it's outside of you, you think. But it is something that you can detach from. You can say, oh yes, you know, I see in my village this happened, or my town this happened, or my city this happened, or my friend's family this happened, or perhaps in my family this happened. And you will see the change. And then bring it closer to home, my beloved. Bring it closer to home and see how it happens in your life. Our loved ones leave the earth. And, in a short while, their vibration, it's not so strong in the house anymore. The love remains the same. But there is a need to let go of the idea that whatever I manifest in this life, in the physical form, is going to remain the same for all time. That idea is hurtful. That idea is harmful. It is through that idea that we harden ourselves. That idea, linked with the idea that I don't have to do anything I don't want to, which we build up in little things, locks us in. Be free. Step out of the square. Step into the circle that is at your heart center. Step into that circle and begin to see what you are a part of and to see the other and work at enlightening yourself, not at controlling their lives, not at allowing them or wishing them to dream your dream, but to know that you have dreamt your dream yourself. Be joy-filled and make that dream, modify that dream in such a way that that dream contains a seed that you can carry with you. You wanted to help people beautify their homes. That's service. You wanted to help people wear good, comfortable shoes. That's service. You wanted to help people buy clothing to cover their body. That's service. You wanted to help people to be fed. That's service. You wanted to help people to understand how to have electricity in their house. That's service. Find that thread for all of the things that you do in your life. And now I'm going to ask that I would ask of you to join with me in meditation. The next 2 days, the Mars will be opposing the Pluto in Aquarius, the Mars in Leo, squaring the Jupiter, which has entered into Taurus. And for some of you, this aspect has already come to fruition, or fired early, they would say. For others, this next couple of days, it's wise to walk a little slower, walk a little gentler in the life. But as we meditate this morning and chant this morning, I ask that you bring to your mind those souls in your life who are seeking wisdom that you have, seeking a skill that you have, seeking something that you have that you can give to them. And that you, this morning, you'll have a chance to offer whatever that skill is to them. And perhaps in the coming week that you will find a way to share something that is important to you with another. Whether you do it by visualizing and giving it to them in your mind's eye, or you have a way to give it to them, not proselytizing, not shoving it to them, but letting them receive it as they wish to have it. And so now let us meditate together. Namaste. Sit with the spine erect, your hands in the Om Mudra. Turn your head to the left and exhale twice. Bring the head back to the center and begin to watch the breath. Use the sipping breath and pull the energy from the limbs to the trunk. From the trunk to the spinal column. From the base of the spine to the sun center. Move that energy as a golden ball of light out in front of you and expand it. And sweep around to the left, behind you, encasing your body in golden light. And do this 3 times. Expand that golden ball of light and ascend upward. Ascend as high as you are able, ascending to the high place. Above the planet, as high as you are able to ascend into the high realms. Reaching the high place, you see in front of you a path. Walk upon the path. It is ascending up a mountain. As you walk into the forest, see the sunlight dappling through the trees. A rich green upon the ground. A soft floor upon which you walk. The path opens in front of you. You come to a meadow, teeming with life. Filled with flowers. You begin to ascend back into the forest. You're higher up the mountain. The trees are all pine now. You're climbing the mountain. You're halfway up the top. The smell of the pine wafts to you. In front of you is a clearing. Entering into the clearing, you see a shrine. It is welcoming and inviting to you. Step into the shrine, and the brilliant colors of light fill your awareness. Breathe in the light. Walk to the back of the shrine, drawn by the light. You come to a pool of light. Walk into the pool. You see it is fed by a waterfall. As you walk through the pool, your shoes, your clothing, everything dissolves away. You are washed in the pool of light. And walk forth to the waterfall. The waterfall of light pours down upon your crown center. Filling every cell of your being. Feel the light pour down upon your crown center. Feel all of the karmas washing away. All of the difficult karmas washing away. Feel your entire being filled with light. Vivifying, strengthening, healing. walking from the waterfall of light. Your body may ascend just a slight amount. Feel yourself walking to the pool, filled with new clothing, fresh, vivid, vibrant being. Let the water of light fill the emptiness, fill the spaces that the karma is changing, washing away the sadness. Feel that filled as you leave the waterfall. Feel yourself strengthened anew. Hear the sound of the Om in this sacred space, filling every cell of your being with its strength. Walking forth from the shrine, feel yourself now back in your high place of meditation, easily transporting to the place of meditation, knowing you can go back to the shrine at any time to strengthen, to vivify, to heal. Feel the golden dewdrops of Anandic bliss pouring down upon you. Ananda, 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 da, 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 da. Let us join together to send forth our blessings as golden light to all of those upon the earth who are in need. O ye powers that be, thou knowest better than we that which is needed. We call upon thee to take our energy and send it to those souls, those beings in need, that they may be filled as best needed, that they may fill with the highest good for all beings. That Mother Gaia herself be blessed with our Yoga Siddhi. And let us chant together the Om Shanti mantra, and we will chant it 9 times, radiating forth that bliss. See it radiating forth from your sun center to all corners of existence. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. 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 Om Shanti. Shanti, Shanti, Om Shanti, 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 Om Shanti, 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 Om Shanti, 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 Om. Thou art blessed. Thou art a blessing. With wisdom, compassion, and nonviolence, become an ever greater blessing unto all of those who enter your aura. Namaste. Namaskar.